For anyone who loved Toy Story 5, you can celebrate. It looks like it's only a matter of time before Pixar makes Toy Story 6. But do you have any idea what incredible things might happen in the next adventure with our favorite toys? Bonnie's Goodbye. Unlike the third and fourth movies in the franchise, Toy Story 5 doesn't try to bring the franchise to an end. On the contrary, the movie is just another fantastic adventure that ends while still leaving the door open for sequels. So much so that Lindsay Collins, the producer of the film, said that Toy Story 6 will begin as soon as someone has a great story to tell with this movie. It turns out that Andrew Stanton, the director and screenwriter of the most recent production, already has a few ideas for a sixth movie. He said he wants to complete Bonnie's arc in Toy Story 6, the same way Andy's arc ended in the third film. In other words, it's very possible that the toys' next adventure will be their last one alongside Bonnie. Maybe the girl will pass her toys on to another child, just like Andy passed them on to her. Seeing that cycle come full circle once again would be really emotional. But that isn't the only thing that could happen in this movie. We're going to tell you everything we know about Toy Story 6. You already know, right? Another Cinewave is starting. Remake. Nobody knows what the story of Toy Story 6 will be about, but if the fifth movie talked about the very current theme of toys being replaced by electronic devices, then it's easy to imagine that the next production will also be about something from today's world affecting the toys. And do you know what's very popular nowadays? Remakes. Many current movies and shows are remakes, meaning new versions of older productions. Disney itself loves making remakes of its old animated movies, often in live action. So what if Toy Story 6 plays around with that idea and shows a remake of Woody's Roundup? For those who don't know, Woody's Roundup is a children's show that exists within the Toy Story universe and was released in the 1950s, starring the characters that the Woody and Jessie dolls are based on. Just imagine Bonnie becoming a fan of this show's remake and then buying a doll based on the new version of Jessie who appears in the program. This updated Jessie could even be the villain of Toy Story 6. Release date. One thing everyone wants to know about the next Toy Story is when it will be released. The thing is, even though Pixar clearly has plans to make another movie for this franchise, Toy Story 6 has not been officially confirmed yet and therefore has not received a release date either. Still, we can theorize. Taking into account Pixar's clear desire to release a sequel, it's likely that the development of Toy Story 6 will be announced later this year. The fifth movie was announced in 2023 and arrived in theaters 3 years later in 2026. So it makes sense to believe that the next sequel could also come out 3 years from now in 2029, and we'll be waiting anxiously for that day. Teenage Bonnie. One thing we can expect is to see Bonnie grow up even more. This is something normal in the franchise. Andy kept growing with each movie until he went off to college in Toy Story 3. Meanwhile, Bonnie is 6 years old in Toy Story 4 and is 8 in the fifth movie, showing that this habit of showing the children getting older has not been left behind. So it's expected that Bonnie will be even older in Toy Story 6, especially if this really is her final movie and shows her passing her toys on to another child. If the story goes down that path, it's even possible to imagine a big time jump happening, with the girl now being an adult. But Pixar may want to make things happen in a slightly different way from Toy Story 3, with Bonnie being in the middle of her teenage years. Since the fifth movie talked a lot about children growing up faster, it makes sense for Bonnie to say goodbye to her toys while she is still a teenager. How old do you think she should be in Toy Story 6? Comment down below with hashtag Bonnie along with your answer. Buzz Lightyear. Jessie replaced Woody as the main character of Toy Story 5, and that was incredible because it brought fresh air to the franchise and proved that it doesn't depend on Woody to be fantastic. It would be great if Jessie continued as the protagonist of the next movie, but what if Buzz Lightyear takes on that role this time? Buzz has always been one of the most important characters in the saga, but he has never had a movie all to himself, except for Lightyear, but the Buzz in that movie is not the toy we love so much, but the Space Ranger he was based on. The next sequel could be the perfect opportunity for the Buzz from Toy Story to finally be the main character. Multi-Buzz. By the way, it looks like the post-credit scene of Toy Story 5 gave us a clue about the future of the franchise. In it, the Multi-Buzz toys, which are those super high-tech Buzz Lightyears, fly to a park and end up in the hands of a group of children. In other words, the Multi-Buzz toys are out there and could return in the next movie. Another incredible thing that happens right at the very end of that post-credit scene is the appearance of a high-tech Emperor Zurg toy, Buzz's arch-enemy. Could he also be important to the story of Toy Story 6? All of these things seem like signs that this movie really will have Buzz Lightyear as its main character. Lady Lightyear. If the Space Ranger really is the main character of Toy Story 6, or at least someone important to this story, it's easy to imagine that the movie's villain could be connected to him in some way, like a doll based on a character from the Buzz Lightyear brand, who could be another adventurous partner of Buzz named Lady Lightyear. Putting it that way, a doll of this character could easily be just another friend of the toys, right? But that would change if Lady Lightyear were in love with Buzz and tried to steal him away from Jessie. In that case, we would have every reason to see her as a villain. Maybe she wouldn't be the main villain, but rather a secondary enemy, while the new Jessie doll, based on the remake of Woody's Roundup, would be the real antagonist. If these two are in Toy Story 6, we can agree that both the original Jessie and Buzz are going to be in trouble. Buzz in Taiwan. The fact that there are strong chances of Toy Story 6 being about Buzz Lightyear also opens up another possibility for this movie's story. Maybe some ideas that were discarded from Toy Story 3 will be reused after all these years for the new project. The reason? Originally, the script for the third Toy Story was supposed to be about Buzz Lightyear getting lost in Taiwan, which would force the other toys to go after him and rescue him. The script was completely rewritten to the point that it turned into a totally different movie. It's very normal to use discarded ideas in sequels. Disney itself has done this a few times. Zootopia 2, for example, introduces Captain Hogbottom. It turns out she was supposed to appear in the first Zootopia, but was cut from the script. So yes, there are very real chances that Buzz Lightyear could end up in Taiwan in Toy Story 6. There's a new video here every day, so subscribe and hit the bell to stay up to date. Andy's return. Andy said goodbye to the franchise in Toy Story 3, and since then has only appeared in short flashbacks. But what if that changes in Toy Story 6? With everything pointing to this movie being Bonnie's goodbye, it would make total sense for Andy to reunite with her. After all, Bonnie's story really began when Andy showed up in her backyard and gave his toys to the little girl. It would make perfect sense for her character arc to end once again with Andy visiting her to see how his toys are doing. Many fans joke that Andy would be upset with Bonnie for losing Woody, since he asked the girl to take good care of the cowboy. But the truth is that Andy probably wouldn't hold a grudge over that. He is an adult, while Bonnie was a child when she heard that request and probably forgot about it. Now, one incredible thing about Andy's return is that at this point, he has probably already built a family and may even have children of his own. Sid's return. Another character we could see returning is Sid, the villain from the first Toy Story. Since Andy has a good chance of coming back, we should also believe the same could be true for Sid, and for similar reasons. With Toy Story 6 closing out Bonnie's phase within the franchise, it would be very smart of Pixar to show what happened to Sid, the first enemy Woody and Buzz ever had. Since so many years have passed, Sid must also be an adult now, and almost every fan wonders what happened to him. Does Sid still work as a garbage man like we saw in Toy Story 3? Or did he get another job? And does he still remember that toys are alive? Or does he think that day when he saw Woody talking and his toys coming after him was just a nightmare? Emily. Another return that might happen in Toy Story 6 is Emily, Jessie's original owner. The fifth movie went deep into Jessie's past, showing flashbacks of Emily as a child and having Jessie return to the house where her former owner lived when she was little. However, we never got to see the cowgirl reunite with Emily. In fact, this is another case of something that was cut from the script. Originally, Emily was indeed going to appear in Toy Story 5 as an elderly woman. As we've already said, it's normal for sequels to use discarded ideas from previous movies, so maybe Pixar preferred to save Emily's return for Toy Story 6. Blaze. Now, someone who will certainly appear is Blaze, Bonnie's friend. Thanks to Jessie, the two met in Toy Story 5, and the movie ended with them becoming best friends, since unlike the other children, both of them still love toys. So it's safe to believe that Blaze will return. The only question is what her role will be in Toy Story 6. Considering that a few years should pass between the end of the fifth movie and the beginning of the sixth, it's very possible that Pixar will explore the sad but realistic idea that Blaze and Bonnie will go through problems in their friendship. While Bonnie is 8 years old, Blaze is 9.5. That is a small age difference, but it changes everything during adolescence. When Blaze starts becoming a teenager, Bonnie will still be a child, and that could make Blaze stop being interested in toys before Bonnie does. That would be a problem. Toys are what brought the two girls together, so if Blaze stops liking toys, that could end up causing the two of them to stop being friends. We've left 2 videos on your screen so you can choose and keep having fun with us. See you in the next video.